Gentlemen, friends, and wellness enthusiasts. Welcome to a very special edition of the Know Your Pharmacist Livestream. This is Joaquin Acosta, your host, CEO of Pharmtrue and community pharmacist. Tonight, I'm your guide on this enlightening journey towards better health and community connection. Today, we're going to be diving into a world of empathy, innovation, and human connection. We're going to explore the most recent vaccine push right here in the state of New Mexico, uncover the hidden emotional toll on our tech content moderators. Interesting, yeah? And delve into the fascinating science of agreeableness. What does that even mean? Are you friendly or analytical? Stay tuned. Find out. Okay, Herbal Wellness Corner, we're going to be discussing the delicate balance between impairment and intoxication when it comes to cannabis, and talk about, responsible and informed use. After that, we're going to hit our community spotlight. We're going to share a heartwarming story of the connection and exploration from a new Las Cruces resident found on our friendly Facebook page. And gentlemen, don't shy away. We got a Men's Health Minute that's all about speaking up and not about suffering in silence. So buckle up for a high octane adventure, everybody. Today's show is sponsored by Pharmtrue, High Horse, the Trichome Alliance, and Vita Speedway Park. Together, we're nurturing connections, fostering education, and revving up weekends and thrilling races, guys. So go ahead and grab that favorite beverage. Try to stay out of that carbonation and the alcohol, but do what you got to do, settle in, and get ready for a show that's not just about information, but about inspiration, guys. All right, let's do this. Time to get this thing kicked off. Pharmacist Frontline looking at New Mexico vaccine update here. Cool. So now, as we touched on a little bit already, this month is correct National Immunization Awareness Month. What does that obviously mean? In the push of time to get flu shots, time to get everything else, guys, it's about to be cold season again. Winter is coming again. Don't forget, right? It's pretty easy to, just get caught up at the fact that school is now back in session and, get rolling into the semester. But with that comes all sorts of sniffling and sneezing and coughing and all the good stuff from there, right? And we all know what that means. Anyways, New Mexico Department of Health promote, vaccinate. And again, I think I talked about this Monday this week. We do want to just make sure everybody, gets that vaccine taken care of. And you're looking at diminished, immunity after, I think it was 90 days. You maybe see up to 10% reduction in immunity, which, I mean, guys, it could be a lot worse. So you think about actually having the vaccine coverage, when you need it, get it taken care of, because the chance that you're in a situation to have it taken care of, again, always can diminish. Correct. So cool. We're empowering that. Got the triple threat season this year. Flu, guys, RSV, and COVID. The COVID variants are still changing. So, granted, we've seen it slowly trend down, but new variants, new winter, it's all types of new opportunities for viruses to spread fast, and all the good stuff. Again, adults over the age of 60 eligible for that RSV vaccine. The infants under the age of 8 months are eligible, but I do not believe that is out and commercially available yet. Flu shots, everybody get one. Everybody ages 6 months and above. Something I wanted to promote here when it comes to talking about vaccines, right? So how to find vaccine events. Sometimes this is something to consider because we have all kinds of different places to get shots, whether it's the pharmacy or whatever health clinics are, here across the city, right? And guys, I know I'm just talking about Las Cruces because that's hometown for us, but looking at Doñana County and where people can actually get shots, I'm going to share this with you guys right now on our Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube feed. The UNM Health Sciences Lab shows here, you can literally go to resources here about where shot clinics are going to be up through the end of August here in Doñana County. So again, this is even out to Anthony, New Mexico, at the Anthony Public Health Office, August 14th, 17th, 21st, 24th, 28th, and 31st, right? Up out there, Gadsden Independent School District. I think might have missed the times in August. However, La Clinica de Familia out there in Anthony is having, they had a health fair this last weekend, but then, they have clinic hours during the week here for people that are looking for, vaccinations. Again, Chaparral even, guess we do not have the current Chaparral stuff there, but La Clinica de Familia in Chaparral has it all good, has appointments available out through the 30th. So check that out. Ben Archer Clinic out in Hatch for you Doñana County residents, right? Looking for opportunities to get out and get vaccinated, right? So now is that time to get it done. Do not forget. Cool. So Ben Archer in Radium Springs, in Las Cruces, Full Bloom Pediatrics is doing it through the rest of the month. For all you Las Cruces people, especially you kids. Now, I know kids can't drive themselves over there, but you get what I'm saying. Right. And anyways, so the Doñana County, quote unquote, Got Shots events program, if you wanted to look that up, that's where, people can find vaccines and shots. It's pretty cool. Good resource, definitely needed, of course, right? Don't wait, vaccinate. That's the call to action right now, everybody. So, right, it's going to be that time of year to get it done. National Immunization Month. I know sometimes it can feel early to get that flu shot, but just get it done. Definitely. Flu shot, shingle shot, pneumonia shot, RSV, all the good stuff, everybody. So, ask your doctor, ask your pharmacist. There's plenty of resources out here in the state of New Mexico that, are even beyond just going to a traditional pharmacy or whatever it may be to go and get your services done. So again, clinics, availability, easy access, just got to be able to know that it's there. So that's what that's all about. Cool. Interesting. Next one I'm going to talk about here, Tech Talk. Crazy video I saw, and I'm going to share it with you guys here about content moderators. And this was a content moderator from Africa. So this came out of Africa News, right? But I think it kind of presents more, conversation on, granted, other situations here. So what entirely does that mean? Sharing this. Let's see. And my sound might go off while I share the video, but it's pretty crazy. Let's see here.
Feel like my entire life has ended and I don't have any hope.
And sorry, Instagram, that you guys are going to see this
one of several Kenyans petitioning for Parliament to investigate and regulate tech work in the country. In November 2021, Mofat was employed by Sama. Sama was subcontracted by the company, which develops ChatGPT to flag graphic passages of text from across the internet. This would help the chatbot recognize certain kinds of harmful content, which it should never include in an answer.
So we were categorizing texts that were touching child sexual abuse material. We had erotic content, we had illegal content.
This is called data labeling. It's a fast-growing multi-billion-dollar industry, employing thousands of people in lower-income regions such as Africa, India, and the Philippines, as well as countries on the cutting edge of tech innovation like China and the US. On a daily basis, Mofad dealt with roughly 600 to 700 pieces of inappropriate content.
What's up, IG? Everybody,
and over time, the data labeling took a toll on Mofad's personal life.
Facebook,
I always say content moderators like myself are soldiers.
right
so
now.
if you're a soldier, you
We're
have to
talking
get
about
bullets,
the
and
human
sometimes
cost
bullets
technology and
In
technology
2022,
being,
Mofad's
right,
wife left him. He
having
believes his
different
change in
effects
his behavior
per se,
because
content
of his line of
moderators
work
we're looking at
played
right
a
here.
part.
After interacting with the content, my behavior changed. How often maybe I get close to my wife changed. I could also sometimes see things and sometimes scream. Sometimes she felt scared. And then she was asking what's happening, and then I could not share what was really happening. So she felt I've changed. I can now not come close to a lady. Actually, I'm now left with only 2 or 3 friends. because I want to reduce that interaction between me and so many people. So I'm always isolated. So it has really changed my social life.
The kind of traumas that you would experience as an individual moderating this content would be what we call secondary trauma. Say, for example, a content moderator comes across a case of a child being physically abused. The primary trauma would be to this child who's being abused, right? The secondary trauma would be to this individual who's observing the content moderator.
The BBC spoke to Sama about the claims. They said workers were screened for resiliency, shown examples of the graphic content they would be labeling, and required to sign a consent form.
Anyways, so, right, what are we getting at there is interesting enough, and granted, this may be a little bit, heavier content that somebody like content moderating out in Africa might have to deal with, correct? Which, of course, makes sense. But what we are also kind of noting and showing here is, right, what does even just seeing that content, perhaps, what is seeing, content do to people, right? You look at and let me get it right, the current movie right now that's out, The Sound of Freedom, right? And, where The Sound of Freedom and actually somebody seeing what, the movie is actually showing and what it's about has an effect on, right, people. So how does that work, right? What is content moderation? What does, what is seen have an effect on, right, secondary trauma and whatever else that may be? Some of this stuff may be to explore, not fully understood to these points, and where you can get it right. Of course, sure, you sign a consent form or this, that, or the other, and thus you're just doing your job. But when you're cleaning over all kinds of data labeled, stuff that had, right, very risky, very, bad negative content, and you're just over and over looking at that, like that guy, he couldn't even look at his wife anymore. So very interesting to, consistently start seeing other different parts of those effects. That's a different part of the job, right? That's some of that dirty job stuff. And some people have different, dirty jobs to some degree and get along just fine. And some people do better and thrive better in different environments. So completely understood, but, worth noting. And it's easy to just jump online and see content that maybe, something you'd never see in real life. But what does that perhaps possibly even do, to the brain? Very interesting. But there's ways to use that in powerful ways. There's also ways that obviously are, used to traffic humans and stuff like that. So worth totally talking about and noting here in our tech talk, guys. Cool. Jumping on to Enlightenment Hour here, want to talk about some personality trait stuff here. And, when it comes to getting along in, right, society or whatever it is that you may need to do, you, to some degree, have to end up learning how to become a great team player. How do you do that, right? How do you even understand if you are a good team player and how you mesh within another team or another system, right? So this is to fully evaluate kind of a personality-based, role for how you become a great team player. And the thing here is looking at the personality trait of agreeableness. And not only the, self-awareness of knowing your own agreeableness trait and what that means, right? Agreeableness is how you approach cooperation, right? Working with other people to whatever degree. And you need both to thrive in different environments for environments to be able to grow. And right, what does being an agreeable person mean, right? A highly agreeable person is going to be what? Cooperative, a team builder, a yes person. But at the same time, where does that lead to negatives in the approach, right? and you look at what happens with the low agreeableness type of people in a team environment, right? What is a low agreeable person? A challenger, an analytical, a skeptical, the no people, right? When you're in a team and you need to function, you obviously have to, look at the personality of not only yourself but everybody else around you, and understand how those work together. And what does that mean when you're looking at, right, your agreeableness? Can you be, a team player and find the strategies that would work if you're a high agreeable person? Like for myself, correct, right? I can be a yes person, right? But sometimes you have to be a no person, and that's understandable too. But right, if I'm working with yes people, and it's me and a group of yes people, I know it's going to be very easy to probably just like think about, 5,000 different things that you could do or want to do or whatever that may be. But it's very easy to over ask of yourself, over ask of, right, the reality of the situation around you. So, it's easy to say yes, especially if you're in a like-minded situation with other high agreeable people, to, get more yeses. On the other hand, right, of, preventing where a key weakness might be, where you might know you're more apt to say yes, right? Where do you take 2 steps back and challenge yourself to reevaluate, and or have other people know that trait about you, and or right, work with that in similar ways. On the contrary, right, low agreeable people, the challengers, analytical skeptics, the no people, those aren't the type of people you already know. You don't want to put them on the spot, right? Classic example of, your parents when you're a little kid, and you're asking something of them with maybe your friend around or somebody else around that's not part of your family unit, right? Sometimes your parents are like, all right, well, no, because we can't even have a conversation with you about it because, it's, we're put on the spot. So, right, no people, you have to think about how no people function in situations. Well, no people, you don't want to put them on the spot. So how do, high agreeable people and low agreeable people work together? Well, is of course, like knowing that with one another, high agreeables, can't jump onto some, rally train of yes and expect a low agreeable person to be on that same rally train. It doesn't work like that, or vice versa. So there's a good healthy checks and balances that you should probably, be aware of for, your own self and your own situation. And a lot of the times, most of us walk into different systems where there's already checks and balances there. But how can you leverage those to get, achieve, goals, achieve better understanding and transformation of yourself, and enlightenment on how to make, teams better, maybe even family environments, and those environments, thrive to where you want them to be, because, cooperation gets things done. What built the pyramids in negative 2000 BC, right? Took a lot of work, took a lot of pulleys and levers, and it took a lot of, if it was slave labor, it still took a lot of manpower and cooperation to those degrees. And where that becomes is that was one functioning unit. Teams always work better than one person. And when we look at things like healthcare systems, where can providers, look within their healthcare teams to evaluate, hey, so-and-so has this lead on this situation and they are a low agreeable person. How do we get them to agree that, patient wants X, Y, and Z therapy, and patient might not want what, this healthcare provider wants for that person? And not put them on the spot about it, but to teach, and enlighten perhaps another healthcare provider, hey, like, what do we do? How do we get, patient what they want, right? If you're looking at, for instance, medical cannabis, let's say that, patient wants medical cannabis. Patient may have, taken a long time to get to that point, and then they want to talk to their doctor about it? Do patients know how their doctors might feel about medical cannabis? Do they know if their doctors might be a highly agreeable person or, a low agreeable person, right? A traditional, traditionally you probably would assume that your providers are going to be, of course, empathetic and following up with all of everything, that is you and your health concerns, right? Sometimes providers can be stuck in their ways or whatever that could be. So, when you may present, hey, well, curious about trying cannabis. How does this work with my medications or my disease states or whatever's going on, or my, my mom or my grandma, or right, so on. So it just creates situations and opportunities for opening up better styles of team efforts. As we've seen, especially in those, all these communities here, as we try to increase, right, and advocate for better healthcare access and these things, it does take a village. It does take teams of people to work together. So of course, people have to understand each other and operate and, align towards common goals and get things done. So again, where can you look at personality traits and where can you, evaluate not only yourself, but, those around you so you can help have a better influence? Can you, help, honor someone's agreeableness regardless of, is it high agreeable or low agreeable? Are they a yes person? Are they a no person? Are they analytical and skeptical, or are they cooperative and team building? Systems need both. All these things need both, but, people and teams just need to be able to work together to identify all of that within their own internal units, within themselves, and you can really, really thrive. So again, Enlightenment Hour, talking about personality traits, guys. The more you know, the better. Again, take a look at scienceofpeople.com/big5. It's got a nice little personality quiz there, and you can look at all of the personality traits there and how you fit. What we were just talking about there today was agreeableness, so super cool. All right, so moving on to the Herbal Wellness Corner, sponsored by High Horse, guys. Just up there at the Chaparral store today. That is a cool location out there. Got to make it and check out how they're operating. Bennett's doing a great job out there running that store, and it's an awesome place. You'll be able to check our Pharmtrue products out there actually soon too. So that's very awesome. Currently, guys, we are going to move on to, cannabis intoxication. What does that mean? What does that look like, right? What is cannabis impairment? How do you look at the risk factors in, cannabis use, right? So how do you discuss what that may be? Impairment or intoxication, correct? Can it be a responsible discussion? Can it be, a healthy discussion? I think it can. I do. I think there's, things here that people will, side with one way or another. And, maybe my community is going to be a little bit more cannabis friendly. However, looking at this, like, you do want to be aware of what happens if, hey, somebody might be cannabis intoxicated or impaired to some degree of, delirium, or what else can overuse lead to, cannabis-induced psychotic disorder. So, right. So again, typically when you generally think of cannabis intoxication, in the conventional sense, most people probably consider cannabis intoxication positive thing, right? Because you may be feeling good, but what happens if you, go beyond that, right? What do they call that? Delirium, right? So intoxication, delirium being, all right, this now doesn't go away. I don't want what's experienced anymore, right? So again, cannabis intoxication classified as, by recent use of cannabis, looking at, right, within 2 hours of use, dilated eyes, increased appetite, dry mouth, increased heart rate, possible, disturbances. And again, cannabis intoxication, and to some, in that degree, consider that sort of intoxication a positive. But, where does it go after? Well, okay, the next step of, well, we're calling it intoxication, and we do not, want to look at, well, advocating, cannabis is a medicine, but where does intoxication equal? Sure, right? You're thinking about, psychological changes and beyond, right? So problematic behavior, right, associated that with that intoxication, impaired motor coordination, euphoria. Euphoria could be a desirable effect, but it could end up leading to problematic behaviors, anxiety, a sensation of slowed time, impaired judgment, and/or social withdrawal. So again, all could be effects of cannabis intoxication to those degrees. And granted, right, you look at the data and you look at the pools of that, maybe somebody may be using cannabis for a particular reason of wanting to, be alone to some degree, or get away from, the space in their head that they want to be in, right? So again, those could be reasons to intoxicate with cannabis. But what can happen after that with delirium, right? Disturbance in attention, reduced ability to focus, sustain and shift attention, disturbances in awareness, additional disturbances in cognition, being like memory impairment, disorientation, perception, issues. And then what happens when you take that all the way up to the next level of cannabis-induced psychotic disorder, right? After that, cannabis-induced psychotic disorder is talking about, presence of delusions or hallucinations that develop during or soon after cannabis intoxication or withdrawal. So cannabis-induced psychotic disorder can technically is funny because it's actually defined as symptoms cannot be accounted for by a psychotic disorder that is not substance-induced. So basically, cannabis-induced psychotic disorder can happen when there's no cannabis in the system. Again, which symptoms of that: significant distress, impairment, disruption in neurocognitive and motor tasks that potentially cause harm to subject or others, and really can last up to several weeks. So interesting. We know it does intoxicate. We know it does impair, but that's what we have to inform. There is medicinal uses. There are other risks, right? What are the other risks that can happen while, impaired or intoxicated while driving risk, right? What sort of things happen during driving intoxicated with cannabis? Slower reaction time, reduced attention, impaired executive functioning. How are you making decisions, right? And, reaction time when you're looking at those things, target detection, judgment, anticipation, even route planning and risk taking, right? In your impaired executive functioning, situation. So again, guys, if you're using cannabis, right, and you're doing driving, you definitely know you are going to be having increased risk for these things. And don't drive intoxicated. We already get that. Alcohol, same thing. Don't drive intoxicated. Interesting stat here from a 2013-2014 National Roadside Survey saying 51.5% of fatally injured drivers were alcohol positive versus 6.7% being THC positive. So very, very interesting. looking at when that, California medical program went live. There is other cannabinoids, guys, that I just wanted to talk about a little bit here. THCV, CBN, even terpenes in heavy effects like myrcene can produce, sedating couch lock effects. And when you look at intoxication and stuff like that, you just got to be extra careful. This is not to, have everybody, thinking that they need to be doing field sobriety tests every time they use cannabis or anything like that, but just to, the take home point: start low, go slow, know your dose, find your dose, these things, understanding where and why you might want to use THC and CBD, CBG, or anything else. Very important. But if you don't know how to ask the right questions, then you could end up on that, intoxication or impairment side of a degree that, you may not want to end up at. So encouraging safe cannabis use, of course, first-time users keeping CBD on deck. Again, if you don't want to be uncomfortably, intoxicated with cannabis, highly recommend keeping CBD along with your THC. And that's just a big deal. Capiche? Moving on, guys, community spotlight. Hey, just wanted to shout out our local Las Cruces community. I thought this was pretty cool. So this was lit. Check this out. There was a post here in the new Las Cruces community page, somebody that had just moved here last year, right? And she goes, I moved solo to Las Cruces in October 2022, with the hope of a lifestyle that requires less hustle and bustle than what I had in the Denver metro area. I spent a large amount of time working on my new house, but also go back to Denver for work. I'm a massage therapist and don't have a New Mexico social or financial infrastructure. When I have been out in Las Cruces, yoga classes and other events, they're enjoyable, but they have not yet yielded social connections. Being an introvert, albeit a social one, makes this a bit more challenging. I thought I'd try posting here as people seem friendly. A little about me. I am 60 and in a reasonably good physical condition. I have done one hike in the area, but it was much earlier in the year. There are so many beautiful things about Las Cruces and this area in general, and I would love to explore more of them. I consider myself spiritual, but not religious. Church does not feed this part of my soul. Vegan, and I'm pretty open-minded and would love to find others who would like to connect. Thanks for reading. I hope you have a wonderful day. So posted there in our Las Cruces community yesterday. Get this, there's 169 comments and invites from all sorts of Las Cruces community that are, inviting, trying to get together, saying, what's up? You should be my friend. Let's connect to X, Y, and Z groups. So, the community of Las Cruces here, I just wanted to shout out everybody for being such a welcoming place, guys, to all of our new residents here in town. And you never know where somebody might be from, especially if they may, just be an introvert, right? And they just need that little extra nudge. Maybe they're a low agreeable introvert, and it's going to be a little bit harder to get, into that social connection, but some people want it and they're yearning for it, right? So, to our community that is out there already engaging the way that we do, I think it's a testament to how awesome everybody is, right? Everybody wants to get together. Everybody wants to help each other. And, that's just what LC is all about. That's how we do. Wrapping this thing up with our Men's Health Minute today, guys. Sponsored by Vado Speedway Park. So check this out. We're talking about men sharing symptoms. And what does that mean? What is the emphasis on it, right? We already know, as we harp, men stubborn when it comes to healthcare. Of course, notorious. But, stubborn leads to suffering in silence and avoiding care. So how do you break the spell there? Well, the 3 Ps: preventative, practical, and performance. So what can you do? What can you modify? What can you look at, whether, things like age and family history or not? Well, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, these can be managed with lifestyle modifications, right? Encouraging, delicious, healthy foods, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night. But again, 72% of men in a 2019 survey indicated that they would prefer to do household chores such as mowing the lawn or cleaning a bathroom rather than go to the doctor. So again, men notorious for what is now called doctor dodging. Why? Why are we doing it? Right? Again, yes, can be embarrassment about discussing sensitive issues, right? What are sensitive issues? Sexual and urinary troubles, reluctant to be able to make a change in a lifestyle that maybe you do want to make a change, but you don't know how, correct? Don't be shy, men. I think we get that point. But again, shyness leads to suffering in silence. The stats show that you will suffer in silence until you retire, and then you'll go to a doctor. So you're the only one who could be that change. Women, let the men in your life know. Quit doctor dodging, right? Get up and make some changes about, modifications that things can be done, right? Super doable, super achievable. You look at the P's, you can get healthy, you can get moving, you can perform, and you can ask questions. So again, everything is a little step-by-step daily process, and everything continues to get better. So that's all I'm talking about, promoting here today. Know Your Pharmacist Livestream, guys. I hope everybody had a good show, and I hope it adds some value to your life. Happy Hump Day Wednesday. So cool deal. We'll see y'all tomorrow.